They're streaming. Yeah, we're talking about Stranger Things Volume 2. And here's the truth and the reason why Volume 2 has been pretty much for fans like myself and for many of others okay, but have been a bit of a disappointment and a little bit of a letdown. And I'm going to tell you why. The main reason, and kind of encompassing why you didn't see my reaction a few days ago, I pretty much broke down the episode 5 shock jock, which pretty much revolved around Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and Dustin, where they pretty much were on the other end of the realm. And then Dustin was reading books that Brenner had pretty much written down scientifically, was talking about the upside down and how the creation of this exotic matter. And then he looked at some form of science matter in this toxic wormhole. He showed it all to Nancy, and I also broke down in the episode 5 about Max and Holly. They're trying to escape this underneath this plate in the dimension. Then episode 6 is pretty much Max and Holly. They're talking about for a 15-minute monologue of how they was gonna escape. And in episode 7, everybody all came together. In the midst of that, after Max woke up from a coma, Mike's mother, Karen, she ended up saving Robin, Vicky, Lucas, and Max from pretty much the Demogorgons. And then they all had a conversation later on in the episode when Will finally comes out. So I broke down all that, but the reason why these last 3 episodes have been kind of failing and kind of been a bit perplexed is, number one, I really feel like it's the Duffer Brothers are not really that good at writing relationships for the audience. They're not really good at writing relationships in the show, and it's pretty much since in the points of the beginning of the show, like from the end of season 1 all the way down to season 4, like they have not really been great at establishing relationships with any of the main characters and main stars. And then Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike, and then of course Caleb McLaughlin, who plays Lucas, this season they pretty much have been taking a backseat. They haven't really been given that much to do, and the reason why is that they pretty much made Lucas like just a regular, ordinary, standard character in the four kids, and then they made Mike, who pretty much always the wiser of the kids, coming up with the ideas, coming up with the plans, but he never really is getting into a lot of action. In season 2, he was always one of the standards, and if not being at the forefront. Him and Dustin are always the ones at the forefront, coming up with the better plans and ideas of how to stop the Demogorgons, how to stop monsters, and he was the main one coming out with the parts of the D&D game. He was one of the main guys, and they kind of made him took a back seat. And the same thing with Lucas. They kind of made them both look like just regular, standard, ordinary characters without any given purpose or any given form to really confine with anything. And to me, that's the thing I dislike about the writing with them. And to me, and not only in that 5th episode that I didn't really like the way they was written in them, I didn't really like the fact that they keep extending this whole relationship and back and forth between Jonathan and Nancy, how they don't want to propose, how they're going to propose, and how they don't want to propose. I really did not understand if they had something going on, if they have anything I didn't really, if they had anything going on, if they had it was something that got in between that prevented them from wanting to propose to get married. I think Jonathan initially wanted to, but he didn't really have the fortitude and the time, and that kind of really threw me off. And also, what really threw me off in this whole thing back and forth was, because Steve and Dustin having their own back and forth exchange of war words, pretty much, where Steve is telling Dustin the truth about why Eddie was killed and Eddie was murdered because of his own cause, and Dustin did not want to hear it. And knowing that Dustin can't fight and Steve cannot fight either, both of them are absolute throwing just a bunch of sucker punches. They both cannot throw hands or anything. And Dustin did not really want to hear the truth about why Steve was telling him, like, oh yeah, you know, Eddie made a judgment call, and that judgment call that he made, trying to sacrifice himself for us and everything else and the greater cause of that good, it didn't work. It worked to plan. And it just made it more, of their relationship kind of going at odds and coming to grips and coming at odds and butting heads and coming to an ugly side and coming to an ugly head. And that really just made it unlikable. Kind of made it more of like Dustin, more of like a douchebag. It kind of made it more unlikable versus in the from the first 4 volumes and even in this 5th one. I didn't really like the way they was writing his character either. Like, just overall, I feel like the writing just did not come to fruition, did not work for me. Another thing that I really didn't like in certain instances, of course, Eleven and Kylie, as they saved them from, of course, this military lab and run by Dr. K, played by, Linda Hamilton. They saved them, and pretty much they all had a big Elle and her sister had a main conversation. And to me, when they had that conversation, it just, like, she basically was for portraying to Elle that, it don't matter what we can do. We can go in and destroy the fabric of time and destroy this other inner cosmetic world and dimension, and it still wouldn't matter because we can go kill our brother and everything like that, but the military, the police, and still gonna be coming after. They're not gonna stop until they kill Mike. She was telling Elle this, and you don't get a chance to rewrite history, to rewrite the cost of fabric of time and everything. She was relaying all this stuff and information back to Elle as they were, having their little having their own little meditation, their calm, their conversation as they were reading each other. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't trust Kylie, and I think she's feeding up a lot of information in Elle's head that probably I can see Elle at this point sacrificing herself. Kylie definitely sacrificing herself and letting herself go after they kill Vecna and after they pretty much destroy parts of the Demogorgon. The parts, pretty much the Abyss, the Mind Flayer, and the Demogorgons. When they destroy all of them, I feel like in this last episode, which is going to happen pretty soon, I think that's when everything is gonna take its own turn, and everybody's gonna pretty much go back to their own lives. The main thing I would say is another big problem that I had. Another big problem that I had in the way the Duffer Brothers have been writing the relationships is because it's just they spend so much time prolonging it. They spend so much time prolonging, and it's just not, and it has not really been working for me. It has not really been working, and it makes it kind of makes it so it's like it's dragging along. And it's dragging along. The pacing doesn't feel as clean, or doesn't feel as crisp. It doesn't feel as polished. And when you have those kind of things going on, it just makes it, and it just doesn't make it worth as much interesting in certain aspects. Now, the main thing I would say that Millie, when we get to the 7th episode, and how in some instances I can understand why people have been complaining about the way Dustin was explaining about how there's this other interdimensional intercognitive dimension called the Abyss, and how the Abyss is like another form of another world, and Vecna is making rifts into this world, and how once he's making rifts, he's kidnapping and taking kids into his lair, and after that, he ends up controlling Will and taking Will under and picking Will under his wing, under his spell, and pretty much is asking him to spy on him for the rest for one last time in order to get to Max, and Max suddenly escapes. And so when Will was talking about how Vecna was end up breaking rifts into the Abyss and to destroy just like he did Hawkins, and how Dustin wanted to try to come up with a plan to try to destroy everything, to try to destroy it all, and once they do that, I felt like a lot of the times it was, and by the way, it was a toxic wormhole that is pretty much erasing and eradicating and taking objects, moving objects, buildings, scale buildings and vehicles, anything that's pretty much gravitational pull is going to make it, and it's going to continue to take it and feed on it, and as it began. And some people don't really like to think, and I feel like in this episode, some people will complain that it overcomplicates. It's a bit overcomplicated when he explains it, but I get why he explains it the way it does, because it's scientific and it's another form inside of this wormhole in the abyss, toxic and an exotic matter, and how that could pretty much they can get swallowed up. They can get swallowed up with it, just like it almost took their lives in the third season. The third season could have been taking place, and they could have taken their lives with it from the mall, and then especially in season 4 when they actually defeated Vecna and sent him all in his other world and in his other way. It kind of made it more of like they try to figure out things. And they try to move accordingly. But my thing is, when we get to the episode afterwards, when we get to the next scene afterwards, when Will, was going to call Joyce and want to call Jonathan and want to call Mike in here, but he ends up calling everybody to really find out a way of coming out the closet. So with Will's character, pretty much he's been the key to everything. He's pretty much been the key to all of these things, because he's a sorcerer. We figured out about his power scaling in the 4th episode, which I feel like was amazing. That was probably the best episode in the entire show, to see him become who he becomes. But I feel like in this episode, I really feel like the best things that they had in the earlier volume, I feel like they kind of bogged it down when he finally comes out the closet and openly admits about him, his sexuality, his homosexuality, his preference, about him pretty much being gay. And I get it. There's not a whole lot of people coming out of the closet, like especially not in the 80s, especially in that time frame. People is not coming out like that in that earlier time frame, or in that earlier play, to make it seem like, oh yeah, and he admits that he don't like girls, and it pretty much Vecna is controlling him and forcing him to admit these things out into the forefront, like the audience didn't know, like the audience is people that's watching it didn't know, and people pretty much and of course his family and his friends didn't know about him openly being gay and everything. But I'm like, it's gonna make the audience, and it's gonna make us, the actual fans, feel like, dang, we spent all 5 seasons now going into it, and this is what you want us to feel like, to admit towards him coming out the closet, him coming out and openly admit his sexuality preference. It's like, we didn't need a whole monologue, 15-minute monologue, to really expunge and expound upon what we already figured out from the earlier seasons about him, his preference. It's like, we didn't need to figure that out. We already knew that from all the way back into season 2. We already knew that. So it just made no sense, as far as the writing goes, to really figure out why Will is who he is, who he prefers. That shouldn't really matter. That shouldn't really affect anything. But so that whole plot line that Vecna was trying to, the way they was writing Vecna, and how Vecna was trying to control the kids, and how he has to force and make Will come out and reveal all of his secrets that he kept for such a while, saying that, he's this, he's. I just did not like that. I thought that was kind of a little bit of a letdown. I felt like that was kind of stupid. I didn't like the way they was writing that in that episode, and I felt like it kind of prolonged and it prelude to a lot what could have been something epic, and what could have been something groundbreaking. I felt like those things messed up as far as the writing goes, and messed up a lot. Now, I cannot say anything about the acting. I thought the acting was great from everybody. I thought the casting, and everything in these last 3 episodes was fine. It's just, to me, my problem is mainly with the Duffer Brothers and the writing, and how they executed the characters and the way it was writing them, and how they're underutilizing the main 4 kids, and how they're not pushing them and expounding upon them and expounding upon their characters, and really, really making you feel that side of the emotional arc. And that's my thing about it that I wasn't really the biggest fan of. And I really feel like the reason why is I feel like there's so much focusing on this emotional arc, and everybody admitting a lot of their faults, their wrongdoings, and everything on that nature. They're omitting these things. And so by the time we get to the big finale, which is pretty much 2 hours and 30-some minutes, pretty much like a long movie, it's going to be premiered in AMC later on New Year's Eve, excuse me. And once we get to that point, I really feel like that's where they're going to pretty much put their eggs in the basket, their eggs in the table, and really show why they have something planned. They have something planned. So those are the things that I would say it's worth checking out. Excuse me. It's worth the time to really check out certain moments and certain scenes throughout each episode. Holly Wheeler, and I forget the girl actor who plays her, is probably one of the most interesting characters in the show, because she has a little bit of a non-fear factor. She has a bit of a non-fear factor, and that's coming from that weird family tree that they just don't have no kind of fear factor. She has an ability she's not easily manipulated, and she's not easily manipulated by Vecna or Mr. Watson, as she calls it, and she's not easily vastly manipulated or affected, just like the rest of the other kids that Henry or Vecna kidnaps and take to this other world. And basically, Vecna and his plans, played by Jack Campbell Bowers, his plan was pretty much very simple. He preys on the weaklings, and he uses them as a way of a pawn, as a way of actual vessels, in order to enhance his ability to make his own powers and sorcery and refinery, in order to prey on the weaklings and prey and absolutely destroy his worthless, in his mind, worthless enemies, in order to merge 2 different worlds, create more, and then crash them at the end of the day to make it more to his worthwhile. So, yeah, those are my thoughts about Stranger Things Volume 2. I don't hate it as much as everybody else does. I think there's some solid moments. In episode 5. Shock Jock, I feel like that was the better of the 3 episodes. But I feel like, to me, there were still problems with it as well, that I don't really that I perfectly explained it. I really think that when you watch it, just take it with a grain of salt. Go into it with modest expectations. You might be thrilled, you might be excited, but at the same time, you might be slightly disappointed. So those are my thoughts about that. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section. If you have seen Stranger Things Volume 2, Season 5, and what do you guys like about it? Yeah, this is not my favorite it's not my favorite season of the Stranger Things. You know, it's not going to be, I don't know if it's going to be anywhere close. I think Volume 3, I think Season 3 was way better. And I definitely think Season 4 is still my favorite one, because I feel like everything culminated together, where everybody had their own moments, had their own fair share of moments, and it didn't feel like it was focusing on other things. And I feel like the writing was clear and is very sharp. I feel like the writing and that magic, to me, is kind of a little bit lost, because it was so many characters, and I didn't even explain about the military. Yeah, they're pretty much trying to tackle and take down and go after 11, and use her as a pawn and use her as a vessel, like they use pretty much, and use her bloodline, just like they use Callie's bloodline to create more mothers, pregnant mothers and pregnant women in their own laboratory. They try to use that as a way of a pawn. They use that as a way of prolonging and forlonging everything. Forlonging their own agenda, their own personal and political agenda. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Volume 2 of Stranger Things. I give it 3 stars out of 4. It has some qualities, but it does have a lot of problems. So I will say, check it out. I'll be right back. Hold on, give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Oh. 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 Yeah, what? Oh. Oh, it's a big-headed chick over there. Is that April? Yeah. Oh. Oh. The what? They give you an IV for it, the contract. Normally it makes you feel like you got to use the bathroom. But I don't believe they contract is not as good as before. We do in the hospital. She needs the black jogging outfit. For Axel. It's in the corner. It's in the corner. It's black and green. Black and green. It's like right in the corner, right by it's the Hot Wheel one. What you say? What? Where you going? yeah, the 49ers won the game last night with the Bears. Yeah, I saw the rest of it. Yeah, it was a back and forth game. Both defenses was garbage. It was like 42. It was 42-38. No, I was saying the 49ers beat the Bears last night. 42-32. Yeah, it was 42-38. Okay. Oh. Whew. All right, guys, I'm back. Oh, kick the theatrics. Hey, what's going on? I didn't even see what you said. And pure guys. Hey, how's it going? You said kick the theatrics. You said, the theater, excuse me. I was just scrolling and saw Stranger Things. I liked it. What we talk about. Just went into Stranger Things here in Bangkok and on Christmas, yo. I seen every episode at least 2 times, and Eddie's my favorite character. Yeah, Eddie was a heart. He was a warrior. He was an absolute survivor. We theorized that we talking possibilities. Yeah, no, I was just going off. I was just theorizing each episode and like my thoughts about why I wasn't really the hugest fan of the relationship that was written, in the show. I was pretty much analyzing like from Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin. I was analyzing their team up, analyzing Vicky and Robin and their team and their relationship and everything. The whole Will and Mike and Eleven, their kind of relationship and friendship and everything. I was analyzing all that, how I didn't really like the way everything was written for them. I haven't trusted 8 since the start of season 5. I haven't trusted 8 at all. I don't know why they end up using and then you said I haven't trusted 8 since season 2. I don't know why they brung her back. I didn't like that at all. You said let down. That aged too fast and it took too long to season. I felt stale. I ain't let down yet. I stressed yet because episode 7 was garbage. I think the writing in episode 7 was garbage. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I definitely think the writing in episode 7 was garbage, and I think how they set things up with Will coming out of the closet and everything, and which we already knew about it, and then how they set up and how they still prolong the whole Jonathan and Nancy, like, oh, do they want to propose? Had they proposed? Did they want to propose? I thought that crap was garbage. I didn't like that at all. And to me, whole Hopper and 11, how they not really the same, how they not really seeing eye to eye, because their sister's back in the fold. I just didn't really like those, the way they was writing. I didn't really like the way they was writing parts and moments in episode 7. He says episode 6 was too. Yeah, no, episode 6 was a little wonky and all over the place. But to be expected, though. Oh, hey, Shashank, hey, how's it going? The last episode is really going to piss us all off, I'm sure. I think the last episode is probably going to be going out with a bang. I hope so. I'm in Indianapolis. Right. Yeah, I love Murray, too. Yeah, Murray is absolutely hilarious. He is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, it's intelligent psycho, Shashank. I think the best written character is Will. Now, Will's character has been written well the last couple of seasons. I think his character's been well written. I think his performances have been really well good. I just hope to unlock his powers because he's pretty much been the key throughout all 5 seasons of Stranger Things. He's been the main key because this whole thing about the whole Demogorgons, the whole monsters, him drawing out pictures and images and in science class, all these things revolved around him. Yes. And then of course Lucas and Mike, all of them were pretty much supporting. And then Dustin pretty much is the guy who is the kid who pretty much always has something planned. He always has a plan and how they writing him. And he was less of a douche in this season comparison to other seasons. Yeah, he's more of like a sorcerer. Yeah, he's a sorcerer. And that's the thing. I really like the way they unlocked him in that episode. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Kick the Theatrix. Yeah, well, definitely earlier on did kind of bore me because there was really nothing going on with him. Yeah, similar to Brand or Broken. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to be reminded of that character, man. I don't even want to be reminded of that character. Yeah, Hopper is definitely Hopper and Dustin are definitely up there too. The main thing I liked about Hopper is yeah, Hopper had a great arc, and I feel like has been my favorite character throughout all the seasons. Him and Joyce are probably two of my favorite characters in the show, and I'll get to why I say that in a minute. But yeah, the reason why I love about Hopper is one, he not only shows how he's just a badass and he's a protective, he's trying to be a protective father and a protective person. He's protecting everybody around him and tries to get everybody, you know, together and culminate it together and really, feel in that moment. But he also is, and he shows that he's a family man. But he also shows that he'll do anything to protect his family, no matter what given cause. And like I said, Dustin too, he always been the one who comes up with plans, who knows how to fulfill, his goals and desires. Yeah, and always love Eddie when he came up fire with the Hellfire Club, and yeah, I always liked the Hellfire shirt too. Yeah, that was great, great. Um, why do you think that Volume Two is a letdown? I was saying it was underwhelming and a letdown because of the writing from the Duffer Brothers. The writing to me has been a letdown, not necessarily the actors playing these characters. I feel like the writing has been a main letdown, and I feel like the utilization of the characters has been a letdown to me from what I remembered earlier on in the season. Is why I say that. I hope he comes. You say you hope with Eddie. I hope he comes back alive as a vampire bat king. I never really thought about it. That I never really thought about him coming back alive like that. I never really thought about it either. But I never really thought about that. But that could be interesting. So you mean to say the writing could be better, although the acting? Yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you pretty much got it. You pretty much got it correct, Shashank. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. All right, guys, it's fun been interacting with y'all. Okay, hear me out. So yeah, what you got? What else you got to say? Kick the teachers. Indeed, that specific campaign. Vecna can turn Eddie into a zombie and use him. Hmm. But Eddie died. Hmm. I like that. I like that. I like that idea. I like that. That could be very, very compelling. that could be something that could be in consideration. That does feel interesting. Um, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta do another. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, guys, because I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna end up doing another TV show breakdown. I'm gonna do one for, of course. I'm gonna do one for It Welcome to Derry, and I'm gonna do the whole season of season 1 for that. And then I got something planned for, of course, after talking about talking about the last episode in volume 3 for Stranger Things, of course. And then I gotta do Mayor of Kingstown. So I'm gonna do that and talk about season 4 of that. So be on the lookout for it. But I'm gonna get on out of here. Appreciate you guys coming in, liking the video, and checking it out. So yeah, good talking with you guys about this. And yeah, that's all I got to say. All right, peace.